So you've lived in China for many years, and how do you think about its government combating COVID-19?
There are both things to commend as well as to criticize. I simply want to point out, you can call it a symbolic act, but to me it's much beyond that. It's simply comparing the leaders of various countries around the world, and when they are in a public setting discussing the virus, whether they themselves are wearing a face mask. And I think with a very high degree of explanation that correlates with how well their societies have combated this virus. So I want to contrast, of course, our leaders here in Taiwan, but those on the mainland as well, when they are in public discussing or visiting sites that are infected by the virus, almost invariably they are wearing face masks. Mm-hmm. Whereas the top political leaders in the United States, from the vice president to, of course, the president himself, in my recollection, I have never seen Donald Trump in a public or private setting wear a face mask.
Never, actually. Yeah.
So I think that's more or less all you need to say about the American response.
But people will argue Donald Trump did so because he made a clear political choice not wearing masks.
There are political choices, which are those that affect us in the human realm, and there are scientific choices. I think there's no disputing that face masks help us ward off viruses from other people and keep viruses to ourselves. So unless you believe that politics is above science, which I don't think any healthy or prosperous society can believe for very long, then you have to accede to science at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. And if face mask is what science tells you is a proper measure to do, then I think it's best that we start with our leaders, and they should start wearing masks themselves.
To this aspect, do you think China government, they're actually doing something correct?
I think before we talk about China, we should probably talk about Singapore. There was by popular acclamation, many people would say that Singapore is a more wealthy or advanced society when compared to Taiwan. But on a per capita and on an absolute basis, they fared much worse with COVID-19. And to me, there's almost one single thing you can attribute that to, which is the attitude toward wearing face masks. Mm-hmm. Their government, up until March, publicly discouraged wearing face masks in public or in private. And that, I think, again, is all you need to say about this whole matter. Mm-hmm. And it's hard to say that Singapore as a society or as a government doesn't believe in science. The question is, then I think that comes back to your political question, yes, Catherine, which is, I think the science was known. Why was there then the political decision in Singapore to advise against wearing face masks? Mm. I think that's what probably people should be thinking about more.
Mm-hmm. Because in terms of government's measure, when we talk about China government, we hate them for, deprive people from their freedom in order to, keep everybody safe.
But you know what? Because they know that their survival as a nation, they are a food insecure nation, they are an energy insecure nation, they are a politically unstable nation. As a result, their government needs to respect science to the greatest degree. Whereas in more, you can say, luxurious societies where your next meal or your energy supplies or your political stability is not as much at immediate stake. Mm-hmm. We can play political games and pretend like science doesn't matter, at least for a while. Mm-hmm. I think Taiwan did not play that game, but I think in comparison, Singapore took a bit more luxury in its interpretation of science. And in the United States, which is to this day still the most advanced scientific and technological country in this world, their politics did not take science seriously. Mm-hmm. And I think just judging by the numbers, we see that their citizens are paying the price.
Mm-hmm. It feels like you think that China government, they respect science more.
They have to. Their politics comes after science. Their politics may come ahead of freedom, and whatever you said earlier, that's probably true, but they respect science. Their government respects science to a degree that I don't see in many other places around the world.